Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sup With Me Tonight. We have the two best human beings in the world, hands down, and we have checked all the people and confirmed that these are the best people. We have Jenna-Lee, Hyde, and Robbie Towns. What a great treat. Thanks so much for joining us here today. It's great to see you both.
You too. Thanks for setting the bar so high.
and you have to exceed it.
Yes.
So no pressure, so we usually, these are just a great chance for us to chat with various people from various places and break a little bread. So we usually ask folks to bring a snack or a drink or whatever you happen to have there. And we'll just have a chat, see how things are going during COVID and how lives are treating us and all those kinds of things. So, fantastic. Those both look really nice and cold and tasty. I got nothing. So I'm calling from, and I'm going to try to switch my camera around to get it on camera here, but I'm calling from our brand new amphitheater. So I'm calling from the lighting booth, as it were.
Oh my goodness, Will.
And that's our
so
sneak
good.
peek. So we're just getting it all finished up and ready to open up, and I happen to be running around down here all day, so I thought I'd give it a try recording from here. And because I've been running around all day, I have leftover beans. There is nothing exciting about that whatsoever, but they are from the garden and they are very tasty. So
you know what though, Will? I do feel like I recall that being a rehearsal snack of yours from time to time, where you'd be like, what I want to say is crunch, 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 from like a Ziploc bag of just like plain, straight from the garden beans. So, you know, farm life is...
beans, carrots, whatever I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Well,
and we'll give a shout out to
I'll have to say I was at the site the other week because I was in Saskatchewan for about 24 hours, and I drove past and I was like looking through the fence and I was this close to jumping over it, this close. Decided to respect, the high, boundary.
I'm glad you didn't, because there's a team of Dobermans in here if you jump the fence, so don't do it.
See, I thought.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll give a shout out to, so for where I'm calling from today, we're on Treaty 6 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis. Obviously that's a huge thing for all of us here in Canada to be thinking about those relations and the work that we're all doing on that front. So we'll give a shout out to that. Jenna-Lee, where are you calling from and what you got?
Hello. So I'm in Toronto right now, or Toronto, dish with one spoon territory. This is my bedroom because it has the best internet, to be frank. I'm here. My dog is sleeping on the floor beside me, and that's me.
What do you got for a drink or an eat there?
Oh, sure. So for food, I have a vermicelli bowl because I feel, I don't know why, but that was like my pre-show meal so often at Shakespeare in Saskatchewan. So it seemed only right. So this is from a place in Toronto called Pho Fung, which is delicious. There's a spring roll. And then I tried to think of like a Beatrice drink, and so I've made a watermelon and mint gin and soda. It'll help you sing for your supper, a very Beatrice thing to do. That's me.
Fantastic. And Robbie, what's going on in your corner there?
I'm today I am in Stratford. I just got back here a day and a half ago. So I was out in the prairies for a month. I was in Saskatchewan, I was in Alberta. I just came back here, and it's very lovely to be back. I'm sitting here with, actually, I was thinking the same thing about Jenna-Lee, actually, because Jenna-Lee, are you thinking that, did you get it from Tia Vietnam?
Yes, every time.
Oh my God,
it'd be
amazing.
Like, I'd call and be like, what's special number 2? And if it was basil chicken, I'd get it. But otherwise, you'd always get a noodle bowl. So that's...
But I was going to say, Jenna-Lee, have you seen the new venue downtown? It's beautiful.
It's
the
huge.
I know. Anyways, I always have the same thing, Will. I kind of went for Thai because Kale's Kitchen is one of my favorite places in Saskatchewan. So I got Thai food here, and I got a little bit of a pineapple curry because I'm obsessed with pineapple. Everything pineapple these days. Started last year, and I have like a blueberry basil smash with no blueberries and no basil.
So you have bourbon?
Whatever works.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And feel free to talk with your mouth full and eat, and I'll enjoy my beans.
Enjoy your beans.
Yeah. So let's talk Shakespeare on Saskatchewan memories. I'm curious, and Jenna-Lee dropped a hint on a story, so now you have to tell it. What are your favorite memories from Shakespeare on Saskatchewan, and maybe in particular from Much Ado About Nothing, but whatever too.
This is, of course, right after I put a huge piece of tofu in my mouth, so bear with me. Well, when we started this call and before we initially started recording for you all to see, Will showed me the new beautiful actor dressing rooms, which I loved the dressing rooms at Shakespeare on the Saskatchewan. Don't get me wrong, but they had some interesting things about them. So one day I showed up early for call, and I can't remember. I believe this was Much Ado About Nothing, but it might have been something else. I have a Much Ado About Nothing, many memories. If this doesn't hold up, but. I showed up and my area was really messy. Like the area where we keep like I have like a huge makeup kit with like my hair stuff. I had all of my like brushes out, but it was like messier than how I would normally leave it. And also my show bra was sitting out. And I like looked around and I was like, this is messier than normal. What is going on? A mouse had gotten in and it had pooped in my bra. So anyway, so a mouse had gotten into my kit, and so I spent so much time like bleaching my brushes and like trying to figure out how to put on makeup and make sure there wasn't poop. Anyway, so there are some memories that happened on stage, yes, but oftentimes things like, how am I going to get my hair to stay in pin curls in plus 40 weather, or like how are we going to do all these things with the natural elements being what they are. So but that was one of the first memories that came to mind when you showed me very nice, very insulated new dressing rooms.
Robbie, did any rodents ever poop in your clothing while you were at Shakespeare on Saskatchewan?
While I was on Shakespeare in Saskatchewan, no, but
in Stratford.
No. I remember I have so many memories and great memories, but I have written a few down here because I didn't want to be put on the spot. And Will, I know you're gonna appreciate this one because like it was my first year there. Mercutio, obviously, I don't want any spoilers here, but he isn't around at the end. And so I was playing the page, and I got this beautiful cape. This cape was resplendent. It was like everything. It had like this huge hood. I looked like a Grim Reaper. Like, and I remember actually, I think I'm right. I don't know if I'm right, but I think during the fitting, I asked Bev, because she put me in one, and I said, "What's that one doing?" And she was like, "Oh, do you want this one?" So she put me in that, and I came on for the entrance, and it was at the end, obviously, you know, like there was never any time at the end. And I came running on, and you like gave me a look, and you're like, maybe he won't do it like that. Maybe just playing around. And I went off again, and then I came back on, and I was literally like wielding this fabric, like like channeling my inner Prospero for sure. And you were just like, Robbie, can you just like not like take so much attention? And I was like, fair, absolutely fair, Will. 100%, I will try my best to not let this cape carry me away. But yeah, that's one of my favorite memories.
And what did you do with the cape after opening when I wasn't watching anymore?
Forever, I promise.
Oh, we lost Robbie's sound.
I can't hear you, Robbie.
Oh no.
Oh, you're back.
You're back.
Oh, I was very professional, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Nothing, no funny business at all. And can I say a second one, just generally, Will? Is the first year I was there, we did a musical version of Taming of the Shrew, and Jenna-Lee played Catherine. And I remember doing, working with the music with a couple other people I was tranio, and Jenna-Lee and I's tracks weren't exactly together, and she was working on You Don't Own Me, and I love that song. I think it's something like, it goes back to me, like watching First Wives Club, like, and I remember her like working on bits and pieces of it and not going full out, and then she had this guitar and she's playing it, and she was like talking about how nervous she was, and I was like, oh, and I just remember that first time that we ran through it, she literally blew me away, and I think that's one of the best parts of the whole show, when she comes out at the beginning of Act 2 and goes, You Don't Own Me, and this kind of like KT Tun style, kind of like killer, like girl chick anthem. Loved it. So when I think of that summer, Jenna-Lee sticks out right away for me.
That's so nice.
I'm not joking. Like, just because I was blown away. Like, and it was different than anything else that we'd seen in that show. It was a 60s period, and she came out and was just like, whoosh. Yeah, it was great.
Bless you. I do remember feeling like trying to run that song and I knew your musical experience and you being in the room, and I was like, maybe I don't try it today. I don't think we need to try it today. I have to go. And being like especially very nervous about performing in front of you because I wanted to be your friend so badly. Don't you?
And here we are. Well, here we are 4 years later, and still beside my computer with my Jenna-Lee opening night present.
Oh, I wish I could take credit for that, but that's from Liz King.
Is it?
Yes, that's
that
Liz
was from Liz
King gift. Yes. Do you think I have that type of foresight and planning?
I'm so embarrassed because she's going to see this.
She will see it.
Remember.
She'll send you an all caps text. Liz, send Robbie an all caps text.
Jenna-Lee, do you know how many people I've told that I got this from you? Like,
that's why people are always, I give them their real opening night gift, and they're like, no Post-its, or where are the Post-its? Bless, I could never follow in Liz King's footsteps. No way, no how.
She was pretty epic.
It's true.
She was actually here this afternoon because she's going to be doing a, we don't get to do very much programming, no festival or anything like that, obviously, with the pandemic, but Dancing Sky Theater is creating a sort of a storytelling around a fire pit evening, and Liz is one of the performers in that, so they're going to come down and do it on site in September. So they were actually down this afternoon.
Oh, Elizabeth Nepchuk, right?
Oh yes, sorry, you were talking about Liz King, weren't you?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, see, now I'm just going to get all the Liz's now.
All the Liz's.
Thank you, Will.
Elizabeth Nepchuk, send Will an all caps text. All caps.
That's that second city wit that we're.
So I'm curious from both of you, because you've got really interesting and varied careers and do different kinds of performance. And Liz has been, Jen, see, now I just called you Liz. Jenna-Lee's been doing some Second City and stuff like that. What's creativity or creation looking like during the pandemic for you? Have you been taking it quiet or trying to keep busy, or how's your creative lives?
Oof. I feel like it's a tricky, that's tricky. I think there's a way in which, especially as like working actors, working performers, if you're not like working, like especially with other people, for me it's so community minded that when I'm by myself, and I have been writing and I've been reading and performing, whether or not my people that I live with enjoy that very much at breakfast. It does feel like it's not happening in a way, especially during a pandemic when you're so isolated, and even if you meet people, there's like a physical space that is truly the manifestation of an emotional and a mental space that you have from these people. So I think sometimes, even though I have been somewhat creative and I do feel most myself when I'm making things, it does feel in a lot of ways like I'm like, wow, my life is really barren of inspiration and creation. So whether or not that's totally true, that's often how it feels. But yeah, so one of the things that has sort of come out of this was truly like an allowance of stillness too, like being like, we're all out of work, so I don't have to like hustle more than Robbie or Will, you know, like, all of us are just sort of like, ugh. So whether that's a misery loves company or truly just like are we all agreed we're taking a breath? We're taking a breath, let's all take a breath. And then kind of figuring out also, I'm walking down the street and away from you with my answer right now, but I hope you're still following. But I do feel like one of the nice things that's come out of this is not just creating, but figuring out like, oh, what do I even care about creating right now? Like not just creating for the sake of being like, oh, I need to, I should, but being like, what's like in here and what's in here and what am I finding funny or moving? And I don't feel like me, myself, always knows, because I listen to other people and outward forces so much that I don't check in and maybe as much as I should.
Yeah.
Long answer.
It's no, that's fantastic. That's great thought and great insight. And it actually, I think on every one of these Sup With Me's, we've ended up coming around to the concept of, you know, during the pandemic, there's so much talk about just general people's lives of taking this opportunity to consider what you want to keep after this is done and what you don't. And, you know, really thinking about what you want to create and what you find funny and who you want to be and all those kinds of things. And there's a really important concept to me that I hope that when we come back from this and we actually get to do communal theater type events in the room together and share germs, that we'll have an appreciation for some of those acts that we didn't have before. You know, the appreciation of the humanness, the appreciation of watching two people kiss on stage, or, you know, being able to actually have physical contact. Somebody shook my hand the other day for the first time, and I did that. I had no idea what to do. It was the weirdest thing, and I have no idea if when this is gone, whether or not I'll appreciate when somebody shakes my hand, or if for the rest of my life I'm going to do that every time somebody wants to touch me.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
There is a way where I think the things that we've taken so for granted now do carry a different weight. And even like, if you want to like take that into Shakespeare, how like, you know, the people in Shakespeare's stories, they only had their words. And I think in a lot of ways I've taken language so for granted. So to be like, oh yeah, what will I say when I finally get to see those people, or like in this medium, or so many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I hadn't really thought much about that, but yeah, when you're working on Shakespeare and always having to remind yourself how the language was the major tool they had and how that affects things. And it's one thing to think about that academically and another thing to actually start to experience that. And I started to look at, you know, if we were going to do the Scottish play next year, how would you possibly do that with COVID protocols in place? And you start to imagine, you know, actors 2 meters apart and those kinds of things. And you start to realize that you can't take any of the things for granted that you have been able to, like being able to touch each other. And instead you have to really find the power of those words, because those are the only things that work from 6 feet away. And it's a different mindset, and possibly a closer mindset to what was existing in Elizabethan times. Right. Not to mention they had their own pandemics and plagues of their own. Yeah. Yeah. Robbie, how's your creative brain these days?
I mean, I find a lot of like solace in what Jenna-Lee said. I found it a little bit bleak. It's funny, Will, because there's some talking points that you sent, and this is the one I didn't have anything for. I'm just, as far as creatively, like, if I'm not working, I'm kind of like I feel like I have to output on something, whether it's painting or whether it's writing or whether it's something, do you know what I mean? And that usually dips down and dies if I'm on a contract or if I'm working. And then when the pandemic hit, I was kind of like, Jared and I were in Toronto at the time, and we were in a studio apartment, like kind of like 18 feet by 18 feet. And so in that, for like 3 months, I was like, well, I just have to get to my creating and, get your craft box out and get like your pencils and your pastels and your paintbrushes. But like, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. There wasn't anything of value coming out. Or what I can see of value right now. Do you know what I mean? It was just weird. And then I was watching some content online, because that's something I've been doing a lot of recently. And basically, Miss Cracker, the drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race, oh my gosh, love Cracker.
Love RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right? But like, honestly, she actually had a pearl of wisdom that like, I was like, that is brilliant. She's like, when we're tired, we go to sleep. And sometimes like, creatively, if I'm like just trying to create all the time and she's like, it's crap. And her mom is like a professional artist, and she's like, that's the biggest piece of advice that my mother gave me, is like, if you don't feel like creating, do not create, because it's not going to be worth it. Give yourself a break. And so I kind of gave myself that it's okay. Like, you don't need to be creating something like a play or this, or writing something, or having a PhD at the end of the COVID to show for it. You know what I mean? And then when I took that off, a little bit of a script started coming out in like the wee hours at some moments. So that's how like creative I've been, but really, I haven't been creative that much at all. I don't know.
Well, and I taking a break is fair.
And I know you have a question about hope and how creativity brings comfort in this pandemic, and I think like I've really accessed and kind of gone to other people's creations. I know that there's been a lot of like performance online, and I know you're going to ask about that, so I'll wait for later. But that's another aspect of, I think, creation and performance that I've really enjoyed during the pandemic. Sam Smith, these huge stars, or your buddy that you did a show with last year, getting down at the piano and singing a song that I needed in that moment. So thank you, buddy. Or do you know, like those things, and they need the performance. So that's one thing that I've really enjoyed.
Cool.
Long answer. No, sorry.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. It's going to come as a shock, but we're actually near the end of our time. I know it goes fast. It goes super fast.
Long-winded guests.
Fascinating, interesting, awesome guests. Let's end though with where do you find hope right now?
Go, Robbie, go.
I find hope in a lot of places, and the one thing that a lot of my friends, when we chat or whatever, there's a lot of people that are finding things very hard, and I see that. But like, I mean, I've been in therapy for a while, and one thing that not this therapist, but my last therapist told me, it's all about framing. And right now we're living in a world that we're learning so much more about, and so much more truth, and so much more like visibility, and so much like all good things are going to come out. It's going to be hard, but they're going to come out of this. My friend who I grew up with has just started a nonprofit, Uplift Kitchen. Her name's Antonia Lawrence. And what she's finding is that, people just want to help people. So she's trying to I might get you some links and if anybody wants to look up these charities. But like those things bring me hope. Versus like David Connolly, like he's been doing master classes online, interviewing Broadway stars, interviewing Stratford, people that work at Drayton, his musical director, like just those things bring me hope. Terry Jackson, she has started a Instagram page called Token, which I've really been enjoying the content on. The whole Black Lives Matter movement and how Black Lives Matter in theater, in Canadian theater, like that's what I find hopeful about our future. Like all the transparency, all the grossness that's coming out, but it's bad, but it's so good. It's so good. So that.
Jenna-Lee, anything you want to add there?
Agreed. It really focused on me at the end of Robbie's thing. I'm sorry. I wanted it to go back to your face. Sorry. Yeah. I feel like when I saw this question, it made me go, "Ooh, I guess I need to be really positive." And I don't know. I think hope is hard. It's very easy for me, especially in moments of grief, which I think this pandemic has been. Like, people are grieving lives and moments and life achievements right now, you know? And so in moments of great grief, me goes like, oh, but we have to stop, and we have to be sad. Which actually isn't what you need to do in moments of great grief. In like the brilliant words of Yvette Nolan, it's like, see the emotion, feel the emotion, and then let it go. And so I think that's been something that's been bringing me a lot of hope, is like the people who are still living in like a really incredible way despite the grief, and like how some have some moments of like incredible hope and community have been built out of horrible moments, like with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, people coming together and going, you know what? No, the world has stalled right now. And so now everybody's listening, and we've had enough, and pushing forward and pushing that through, and really being there for each other. There, in the community that I live in, there have been, like a series of attacks on women as well. And so there was a huge community meeting where people showed up in a park, and they're like, what can we do? How can we be there for each other? You know, there are marches, there are meetings, there are ways in which people are showing up for each other. And that's not to say that wasn't what was happening before, but I think it's maybe I wasn't seeing it so fully. So that, and truly just the ways in which people are continuing, like kind of like what you said, Robbie, like people are continuing to build their lives. People are still like pursuing, you know, dreams, as it were. I have a friend who's like, finally, after years, like being like, I'm moving to BC. I've always wanted to. It's where I feel like I am home when I'm there and I'm going, you know. And I have friends who continue to write, like are writing TV shows and writing scripts about things that really matter to them, because they're like, well, I must, you know. And so I feel like seeing hope in other people and seeing community being built right now is like a thing of great hope for me. We may feel very alone, but we're not.
Yeah, that's a great sentiment, and it's I'd echo the thought of, there are a lot of ugly things happening right now, but it's there's an opportunity for change, and an opportunity for truth and honesty and community, real, honest, truly community building that has not always been there, because we are all paying attention to, you know, some of the challenges in our world and some of the things that have not been going the way that we would like them to. And, you know, especially in Canadian theater, and we were mentioning, you know, referencing Black Lives Matter and some of the really hard, truthful, honest, ugly conversations that are happening right now. And they're hard, and they're fantastic. And I'm not in every theater across the country, obviously, but if every theater in the country is having the same kind of difficult conversations that are happening in my community, then there is an unprecedented opportunity for change on all kinds of fronts. You know, like you start to see people talking about Black Lives Matter and diversity and Indigenous Lives Matter, and but you're also seeing people talking about, why do we run ourselves into the ground and work ridiculous hours in this industry, and, you know, not give ourselves the ability to have happiness and a life and family and whatever else it happens to be that we each want in our lives. So it's, you know, it's an opportunity for some great conversations like this one with the wonderful Jenna-Lee and the wonderful Rob.
Great conversations, which I will just say also require action, and we all have to keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm hopeful that I'm seeing the beginnings, the very beginnings of more action than I think I've ever seen come out of these conversations before. And I personally think it's different right now, and I personally think that there will be more action and there will be more change than conversations usually get. Yeah, which is here's hoping.
Here's hoping, baby.
Yeah, or here's doing.
Here's doing. Yeah, that's
doing.
better.
We should probably sign off. It's been fantastic to talk to you both, and thank you for joining us on the other ends of the country. And we look forward to when both of you get to come here and do some shows again. That would be
Thanks
lovely.
so much, Will. Thanks for having us. It's been brilliant.
Yeah,
We
thank
love
you. So good to see some slightly delayed faces to voices.
I'm delayed when I'm in person too.
Eat a bean.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Thanks, guys.